So welcome back everyone to another Mon RPG inspiration read-along video. This one is going to be on the fifth book of Dune, the Dune series by Frank Herbert, where I will read to you this passage, this chapter where Miles Teg, Commander Commander Miles Teg is being interrogated by the Honoured Matres. I thought that's gonna make for a fun read. I'll tell you why in a moment and how I take that as an inspiration to further the development of Mon RPG. A very quick update on where we are now with the game, with the writing and all. I've been making good progress, securing all ancestries, species, class and subclass descriptions. Devotion and the roads and drives were secured already a few months back. And I'm now working hard on making a talent system that fits the Spike engine well. So I come up with extension of a core mechanic that don't extend too far. So we keep things synthetic, efficient, fast, and true to the core philosophy of the game engine. Playtesting is still going on, going at the club. This is invaluable. Of course, playtesting a game in the middle through development is a no-brainer. You've got to do it. It's painful, but it really helps. I could think try and resolve 1,000 questions myself, but putting them at the table and sharing the process of the design of things in the making, this work in progress, making that collective is amazing. Meanwhile, I've received couple new books. My reading list is stalling. It's on standby. It grows faster than daylight, and I'm at this stage in development that I'm focusing more on those bloody talents, and I don't have that much time to read at this moment. And more books came and added. There is more. So I received recently. We have a cat. No, the cat is good. You good? She's good. She's good. She's going crazy because the weather is great today in Ireland. So we have this She by H. Rider Haggard, who is this is I think late 19th century or something, or early 20s. I don't even remember the date. It's 1887. See. And this is the it's like pre-pulp, right? This is the origin. This is like after Treasure Island, and this is like Allan Poe sort of era. So you have mysteries and adventure mixed together, a bit of fantastic and stuff. So here it's like 3 English explorators going into Black Africa and discovering a cult led by I think a white lady. So I can't wait to begin that. It's good old school trad English, very beautiful, very beautiful language. And to add on to this, we have Edgar Rice Burroughs. The Complete Land That Time Forgot. So same vibe, but it's I think an aviator or a sailor who gets stranded on a dinosaur island. So very very much both She and The Land That Time Forgot are I can feel it already, will be big inspiration for Mon. We have dinosaurs, we have cults in Mon. and this sense of I think the sense of the fantasy, like what the roots of fantasy. I really want to connect with that, and I think these two books will be amazing for that. Just received recently the last book of David Hone, who is a paleontologist, and he wrote Uncovering Dinosaur Behavior, What They Did and How We Know. I watched a couple interviews of David Hone. He's a fascinating scientist and a paleontologist, a biologist, animal behavior. So he's really looking at dinosaurs from a behaviorist perspective, and questioning how they behaved as animals, beyond like the Jurassic Park sort of like monster, big evil monsters that eat everything they see. We have here someone who is trying to quote unquote rehabilitate dinosaurs and put them into their environment, put them back into their environment, put them back into the animal behavior, give them back a life of their own. And I've read a few dinosaur books already. I really want the bestiary, quote unquote, the bestiary of creatures in Mon RPG to be a living biome, with interconnections, food webs, parasites, and partnerships, and all of these things that will make an encounter meaningful. An encounter will be just small, like more than a challenge, but it will be a story about the planet, right? It will tell something about an ecosystem or whatnot. Another, I think it's gonna be great to read that one. I can't wait. We have Neanderthal people in Mon, and they are called the Golog, and I used to play and GM Worm, the prehistoric role-playing game by Emmanuel Roudier, who illustrated La Guerre du Feu, the Quest for Fire, who illustrated Neanderthal. So anyway, we have shamanism in Mon. We have a spirit world. I'm working on spirit magic that will really work like it's meant to. Like it's not a casting magic. It's based on the exchange of gifts and spirit powers, and it's based on taboos and G's. So here, what we have is The Mind in the Cave by David Lewis Williams. It seems that it's a book that has changed the lives of all those who read it. It's basically it's based on the claim that language, human language, came as the ripples, an extension, a result of our first psychedelic experiences. That cave art is itself sort of like the explosion that succeeded those experiments. That of course shamanism is interacting, with psychedelics in general. And here they make a tour, like they make a tour. It's a world tour of cave art. And it's and a study about those topics, those tropes. This I cannot wait. This really is going to give a lot of flesh, a lot of depth to the Golog as I envision them, as not only a legit ancestry, a playable ancestry in the game, but an ancestry that would give the player a really meat for thought, like food for thought. What is it? What is consciousness? What is family? What is the tribal clan? The relationship to nature, the goddess mother, and want to complement it. Of course, recently came in Shamanism by Mircea Eliade. I didn't expect such a big book. Loads of things. Here we have like Tapa and Diksha, like stuff from India. We have shamanism in North and South America, in Central and North India, shaman's costume and drum. So this is Monsieur Eliade. This is very. He's an ethnologue, anthropologist. This is very based. Yeah, this is very rational. Yeah, rational and based. But I think it's gonna come with some really legit, like with the realism aspect of what is it to be a shaman. So shamanism won't be only accessible to Gologs. There's a whole thing about shamanism. You'll see we have plenty with the Zayadak and all sorts of mutant species. All have their form of shamanism, etc. And to complete the thing, we have here a Food of the Gods, a radical history of plants, psychedelics and human evolution by Terence McKenna himself. A character, a figure of the field on the field of psychedelics, who really is telling you the story of all those plants, how they were used, where they take you, what is their purpose for us, what is consciousness, what is transcendence, and all of that. So transcendence, the question of the hard question, consciousness are very much themes that I want to make accessible in this role-playing game. I'm myself fascinated by that mystery, and I think role-playing games are a fantastic terrain, a space to explore with our imagination. What is consciousness? What's the difference between culture and nature? How is consciousness evolving through those frames and all of that? So Terence McKenna, Food of the Gods. Yeah, I guess it's gonna be great. As an aside, or how do you say? I don't want to make this game there will be philosophy. There will be some good, deep, deep challenges, questions. Not only just killing monsters left and right, but killing ideas, challenging philosophies. Culture differences, species point of views, and so the scope of the game looks promising to me. So that was it for the quick updates about where development is going at the moment. The reading list growing, me being stuck with design concerns. And and still having 500 pages of notes behind, and they become obsolete because the system has changed already like 5 times since I took those notes like 7 months ago. I need to transcribe them on the computer to sieve through that and see what holds. So today, Frank Herbert, the second great trilogy of Dune. This is book number 5, Heretics of Dune. I will read to you. I don't know which chapter number. I don't have in my version by Gollancz here. I think it's a UK publisher. I don't have chapter numbers. This is when Commander Bashar Miles Teg has been abducted, captured by the big baddies of this episode, the Honoured Matres, a branch of the Sisterhood that went on exile, that scattered and returned after the passing, the organized self coup. He made a coup on himself. Leto the second really organized his own departure, and then there's a new empire or whatever it's called. So those from the scattering come back, and with them a forgotten branch of the Bene Gesserit with similar powers, but abusing them on to take control. Basically, they're power freaks, and they leverage sexuality. They control people through, like, they have with all their Bene Gesserit power is applied to controlling people through sex. And they're odious. They are so the few characters you meet there are odious. And in book 6, which I'm reading currently, the book after this one, Chapter House, Dune Chapter House or something like that, they're there. It's the final standoff between the Bene Gesserit and the Matres. So now Teg has been captured. You'll see he's been captured by these guys, and they're about to interrogate him. Why am I reading that now? One scene that I really particularly loved I think it's episode 1. It's in book 1 where Leto is captured. The father of you know who is captured by Baron Harkonnen after having been betrayed by Hue, his mentat Sook doctor. But still the Sook doctor had given him a tooth to bite, to spew some poison and assassinate the Duke, which didn't work. The interrogation didn't work. Leto stood his ground, proved that Atreides' honor was stronger in spirit, but not in matter, because what matters is Baron Harkonnen survives. Peter is killed, but Leto as well, and the Harkonnen ruthlessness predominates. But so this scene of Miles Teg, Bashar, 13,000 years later, I something like that, is reminiscent, is sort of like echoing the Leto's interrogation scene. Here we have Miles Teg. I won't spoil it to you. You see, there is, like, there was a big twist inside Leto's interrogation scene. It's one of my favorite scenes, where you can see a lot about Baron Harkonnen as well. And here there's a big twist as well. There's transformation. There's a lot of flashback of memories, and Frank Herbert uses that a lot throughout the saga, where you have a scene, you have what's happening here and now, but then each character is like thrown back into past lives, past experiences, memories, and relives them, and you really have this sense of there's a form of timelessness about our experiences, the way we're subconsciously always ready to we have everything at hand. We have the knowledge of the entire human evolution behind, and it can be used at any point, and to transform us further. And this is used a lot in the entire saga. And here we have another example of that. Why is that interesting to me and Mon? Bon, for a lot of many other reasons that Dune is a killer. But when I GM games, I'm a fan of using flashbacks. I think they're a great way to generate tempo, a rhythm, control the tempo, by proposing moments of depth. And when you come back out of those moments, then you come back to the here and now. You role play your character, and you're charged, you're loaded with that memory, with that flashback, with that experience, and that really enhances the, like, why do you do things, what do you look for, how should you react. It's really helpful for the players. It gives a nice atmosphere, to use parsimoniously, to use with precaution. You don't want to non-stop like disturb the moving forward of the campaign. It can slow down things quite a bit, but that's the price to pay to get that texture, right? To get that texture and to make every moment. Not every moment needs to be that loaded, but it is a respiratory sort of like. I think I use it as a respiratory function, to make the game breathe, up and down, etc. I think I said it. I said almost everything. I hope you enjoy that segment. It's a small chapter. It reads. It's a delight to read. Frank Herbert is wrote out loud. Yeah. So it's prose that is made to be talked, to be spoken, and here again we can definitely sense that. Although I thought. Overall, I think through the saga, I think the first books were better written. I think the fifth book is one that is a bit below, under the level of like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's nice, and like it's the whole worm god thing. The fourth episode is amazing. But then here in the 5, it's like he's trying to reshuffle things. That's why I think the Honoured Matres came in, and he needed to make a new start. And in the sixth book is amazing. Chapter House Dune is amazing. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope to see you on the next one soon. This is it. This is gonna be Heretics of Dune by Frank Herbert. Have fun. Survival of self, of species, and of environment. These are what drive humans. You can observe how the order of importance changes in a lifetime. What are the things of immediate concern at a given age? Weather? The state of the digestion? Does she or he really care? All of those various hungers that flesh can sense and hope to satisfy. What else could possibly matter? Leto the second to Hui Nori, his voice, Dar's ballad. Miles Teg awoke in darkness to find himself being carried on a litter sling supported by suspensors. By their faint energy glow, he could see the tiny suspensor bulbs in an up-dangling row around him. There was a gag in his mouth. His hands were securely tied behind his back. His eyes remained uncovered. So they don't care what I see. Who they were, he could not tell. The bobbing motions of the dark shapes around him suggested they were descending uneven terrain. A trail? The sling litter rode smoothly on its suspensors. He could sense the faint humming from the suspensors when his party stopped to negotiate the turn of a difficult passage. Now and then, through some intervening obstruction, he saw the flickering of a light ahead. They entered the lighted area presently and stopped. He saw that the light came from a single glow globe about 3 meters off the ground. It had been tethered on a pole and moved gently in a light breeze. By its yellow glow he discerned a shack in the center of a muddy clearing, many tracks in trampled snow. He saw bushes and a few sparse trees around the clearing. Someone passed a brighter handlight across his face. Nothing was said, but Teg saw a hand gesture toward the shack. He had seldom seen such dilapidated structure. It looked ready to collapse at the slightest touch. He bet himself that the roof leaked. Once more his escort lurched into motion, swinging him toward the shack. He studied his escort in the dim light. Faces muffled to the eyes in a cover which obstructed mouths and chins. Hoods hid their hair. The clothing was bulky and concealed body details except for the general articulation of arms and legs. The pole-tethered glow globe went dark. A door opened in the shack, sending a brilliant glare across the clearing. His escort hustled him inside and left him there. He heard the door close behind him. It was almost blindingly bright inside after the darkness. Teg blinked until his eyes adapted to the change. With an odd sense of displacement, he looked around him. He had expected the shack's interior to match its exterior, but here was a neat room almost bare of furnishings. Only 3 chairs, a small table, and, he drew in a sharp breath, an iction probe. Couldn't they smell the shear on his breath? If they were that unaware, let them use the probe. It would be agony for him, but they would get nothing from his mind. Something clicked behind him, and he heard motion. 3 people came into his field of vision and ranged themselves around the foot of the litter. They stared at him silently. Teg moved his attention across the 3 faces. The one on his left wore a dark single suit with open lapels. Male. He had the squarish face Teg had seen on some Gamu natives. Small, beady eyes which stared straight through Teg. It was the face of an inquisitor, one who would not be moved by your agony. The Harkonnens had imported a lot of those in their day, single-purpose types who would create pain without the slightest change of expression. The one directly at Teg's feet wore bulky clothing of black and grey similar to that of the escort. The hood was thrown back to reveal a bland face under closely cropped grey hair. The face gave nothing away, and the clothing revealed little. No telling if this one was male or female. Teg regarded the face. Wide forehead, square chin, large green eyes above a knife-ridged nose, a tiny mouth pursed around a moo of distaste. The 3rd member of this group held Teg's attention longest. Tall, tailored black single suit with a severe black jacket over it. Perfectly fitted. Expensive. No decorations or insignia. Male, definitely. The man affected boredom, and this gave Teg a tag for him. Narrow, supercilious face, brown eyes, thin-lipped mouth. Bored. All of this in here was an unwarranted demand on his very important time. He had vital business elsewhere, and these other 2, these underlings, must be made to realize that. That one, Teg thought, is the official observer. The bored one had been sent by the masters of this place to watch and report what he saw. Where was his data case? Ah, yes. There it was, propped against the wall behind him. Those cases were like a badge for such functionaries. On his inspection tour, Teg had seen these people walking the streets of Isai and other Gamu cities. Small, thin cases. The more important the functionary, the smaller the case. This one's case would barely contain a few data spools and a tiny calm eye. He would never be without an eye to link him with his peers. Thin case. This was an important functionary. Teg found himself wondering what the functionary would say if Teg asked, "What will you tell them about my composure?" The answer was already there on that bored face. He would not even answer. He was not here to answer. When this one leaves, Teg thought, he will walk with long strides. His attention will be on distances where only he knows what powers await him. He would slap that case against his leg to remind himself of his importance and to call the attention of these others to his badge of authority. The bulky figure at Teg's feet spoke a compelling voice, definitely female in those vibrant tones. See how he holds himself and watches us? Silence will not break him. I told you that before we entered. You are wasting your time, and we do not have all that much time for such nonsense. Teg stared at her, somebody vaguely familiar in the voice. It had some of that compelling quality found in a reverend mother. Was that possible? The heavy-faced Gamu type nodded. You're right, Matterly. But I do not give the orders here. Matterly, Teg wondered. Name or title? Both of them looked at the functionary. That one turned and bent to his data case. He removed a small com-eye from it and stood with the screen concealed from his companions and Teg. The eye came alight with a green glow which cast a sickly illumination over the functionary's features. His self-important smile vanished. He moved his lips silently, words formed only for someone on that eye to see. Teg hid his ability to read lips. Anyone trained by the Bene Gesserit could read lips from almost any angle where they were visible. This man spoke a version of Old Galak. It is the Bashar Teg for sure, he said. I have made identification. The green light danced on the functionary's face while he stared into the eye. Whoever communicated with him was in agitated movement, if that light meant anything. Again the functionary's lips moved soundlessly. None of us doubts that he has been conditioned against pain, and I can smell shear on him. He felt silence as the green light once more danced on his face. I do not make excuses. His lips shaped the Old Galak words with care. You know we will do our best, but I recommend that we pursue with vigor all the means of intercepting the Gola. The green light winked off. The functionary clipped the eye to his waist, turned toward his companions and nodded once. The T-probe, the woman said. They swung the probe over Teg's head. She called it a T-probe, Teg thought. He looked up at the hood as they brought him over him. There was no Ixian stamp on the thing. Teg experienced an old feeling of déjà vu. He had the feeling that his own captivity here had occurred many times before. No single incident déjà vu. It was a deeply familiar recognition. The captive and the interrogators, these three, the probe. He felt emptied. How could he know this moment? He had never personally employed a probe, but he had studied their use thoroughly. The Bene Gesserit often used pain, but relied mostly on truth-sayers. Even more than that, the Sisterhood believed that some equipment could put them too much under Ixian influence. It was an admission of weakness, a sign that they could not do without such despicable devices. Teg had even suspected there was something in this attitude of a hangover from the Butlerian Jihad. Rebellion against machines, which could copy out the essence of a human's thoughts and memories. Déjà vu. Mentat logic demanded of him, how do I know this moment? He knew that he had never before been a captive. It was such a ridiculous switch of roles. The great Bashar Teg, a captive. He could almost smile. But that deep sense of familiarity persisted. His captor positioned the hood directly over his head and began releasing the Medusa contacts one at a time, fixing them to his head. The functionary watched his companion's work, producing small signs of impatience on an otherwise emotionless face. Teg moved his attention across the three faces. Which one of these would act the part of friend? Oh, yes, the one called Matterly. Fascinating. Was it a form of Honoured Matres? But neither of the others deferred to her as one would expect from what Teg had heard of those returning lost ones. These were people from the scattering, though. except possibly for the square-faced male in the brown single suit. Teg studied the woman with care. The mat of grey hair, the quiet composure in those widely spaced green eyes, the slightly protruding chin with its sense of solidity and reliability. She had been chosen well for friend. Matterly's face was a map of respectability, someone you could trust. Teg saw a withdrawn quality in her, though. She was the one who would also observe carefully to catch the moment when she must become involved. Surely she was Bene Gesserit trained at the very least, or trained by the Honoured Matres. They finished attaching the contacts to his head. The Gamu type swung the probe's console into position where all three could watch the display. The probe screen was concealed from Teg. The woman removed Teg's gag, confirming his judgment. She would be the source of comfort. He moved his tongue around in his mouth, restoring sensation. His face and chest still felt a bit numb from the stunner which had brought him down. How long ago had that been? But if he was to believe the silent words of the functionary, Duncan had escaped. The Gamu type looked to the functionary. "You may begin, yeah?" the functionary said. "Yeah," Teg wondered. Curious name. Almost had a Tleilaxu sound, but Yar was not a face dancer nor a Tleilaxu master. Too big for one, and no stigmata of the other. As one trained by the sisterhood, Teg felt confident of this. Yar touched the control on the probe's console. Teg heard himself grunt with pain. Nothing had prepared him for that much pain. They must have turned their devil's machine to maximum for the first thrust. No question about it. They knew he was a mentat. A mentat could remove himself from some demands of flesh. This was excruciating. He could not escape it. Agony shivered through his entire body, threatening to blank out his consciousness. Could Shear shield him from this? The pain diminished gradually and went away, leaving only quivering memories. Again. He thought suddenly that the spice agony must be like this for a Reverend Mother. Surely there could be no greater pain. He fought to remain silent, but heard himself grunting, moaning. Every ability he had ever learned, mentat and Bene Gesserit, was called into play, keeping him from forming words, from begging for surcease, from promising to tell them anything if they would only stop. Once more the agony receded and then surged back. Enough! That was the woman. Teg groped for her name. Matterly? Yar spoke in a sullen voice. He's loaded with shear, enough to last him for a year at least. He gestured at his console. Blank. Teg breathed in shallow gasps. The agony. It continued to increase despite Matterly's demand. I said enough, Matterly snapped. Such sincerity, Teg thought. He felt the agony recede, withdrawing as though every nerve were being removed from his body, pulled out like threads of the remembered agony. It is wrong what we are doing, Matterly said. This man is like any other man, Yar said. Shall I attach the special contact to his penis? Not while I'm here, Matterly said. Teg felt himself almost taken in by her sincerity. The last of the agony threads left his flesh, and he lay there with the feeling that he had been suspended off the surface which supported him. The sense of déjà vu remained. He was here and not here. He had been here and he had not. They will not like it if we fail, Yar said. Are you prepared to face them with another failure? Matterly shook her head sharply. She bent over to bring her face into Teg's line of vision through the Medusa tangle of probe contacts. Bashar, I'm sorry for what we do. Believe me, this is not of my making. Please, I find all of this disgusting. Tell us what we need to know and let me make you comfortable. Teg formed a smile for her, She was good. He shifted his gaze to the watchful functionary. Tell your masters for me. She's very good at this. Blood darkened the functionary's face. He scowled. Give him the maximum, yeah. His voice was a clipped tenor without any of the deep training apparent in Matterly's voice. Please, Matterly said. She straightened up but kept her attention on Teg's eyes. Teg's Bene Gesserit teachers had taught him that. Watch the eyes. Observe how they change focus. As the focus moves outward, the awareness moves inward. He focused deliberately on her nose. It was not an ugly face, rather distinctive. He wondered what the figure might be under those bulky clothes. Yeah, that was the functionary. Yeah adjusted something on his console and pressed a switch. The agony that surged through Teg now told him the previous level had indeed been lower. With the new pain came an odd clarity. Teg found himself almost capable of removing his awareness from this intrusion. All of that pain was happening to someone else. He had found a haven where little touched him. There was pain, agony even. He accepted reports about these sensations. That was partly the shear's doing, of course. He knew that and was thankful. Matterly's voice intruded. I think we're losing him. Better ease off. Another voice responded, but the sound faded into stillness before Teg could identify the words. He realized abruptly that he had no anchor point for his awareness. Stillness? He thought he heard his heart beating rapidly in fear, but he was not sure. All was stillness, profound quiet with nothing behind it. Am I still alive? He found a heartbeat then, but no certainty that it was his own. Thump, 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 thump. It was a sensation of movement and no sound. He could not fix the source. What is happening to me? Words blazoned in brilliant white against the black background played across his visual centers. I'm back at 1/3. Leave it at that. See if we can read him through his physical reaction. Can he still hear us? Not consciously. None of Teg's instructions had told him a probe could do its evil work in the presence of shear, but they called this a T-probe. Could bodily reactions provide a clue to suppressed thoughts? Were these revelations to be explored by physical means? Again, words played against Teg's visual centers. Is he still isolated? Completely. Make sure. Take him a little deeper. Teg tried to lift his awareness above his fears. I must remain in control. What might his body reveal if he had no contact with it? He could imagine what they were doing, and his mind registered panic, but his flesh could not feel it. Isolate the subject, give him nowhere to seat his identity. Who had said that? Someone. The sense of déjà vu returned in full force. I'm a mentat, he reminded himself. My mind and its workings are my center. He possessed experiences and memories upon which a center could rely. Pain returned. Sounds. Loud. Much too loud. He's hearing again. That was Yar. How can that be? The functionary's tenor. Perhaps you've set it too low, Matterly. Teg tried to open his eyes. The lids would not obey. He remembered then. They had called it a T-probe. This was no Ixian device. This was something from the scattering. He could identify where it took over his muscles and senses. It was like another person sharing his flesh, preempting his own reactive patterns. He allowed himself to follow the workings of this machine's intrusions. It was a hellish device. It could order him to blink, fart, gasp, shit, piss, anything. It could command his body as though he had no thinking part in his own behavior. He was relegated to the role of observer. Others assailed him, disgusting others. He would not command himself to frown, but he thought of frowning. And that was sufficient. These others had been elicited by the probe. It was playing his senses, learning them. "Do you have enough to read him?" Functionary's tenor. "He's still hearing us." "Ja, damn all mentats," matterly. "Dit and that," Teg said, naming the puppets of the winter show from his childhood on long ago Lernaeus. "He's talking," the functionary. Teg felt his awareness being blocked off by the machine. Ya was doing something at the console. Still, Teg knew his own mentat logic had told him something vital. These three were puppets. Only the puppet masters were important. How the puppets moved, that told you what the puppet masters were doing. The probe continued to intrude. Despite the force being applied, Teg felt his awareness matching the thing. It was learning him, but he was also learning it. He understood now. The whole spectrum of his senses could be copied into this T-probe and identified, tagged for Ya to call up when needed. An organic chain of responses existed within Teg. The machine could trace those out as though it made a duplicate of him. The shear and his mentat resistance shunted the searchers away from his memories, but everything else could be copied. "It will not think like me," he reassured himself. The machine would not be the same as his nerves and flesh. It would not have Teg memories nor Teg experiences. It had not been born of woman. It had never traveled down a birth canal and emerged into this astonishing universe. Part of Teg's awareness applied a memory marker, telling him that this observation revealed something about the Gola. Duncan was decanted from the axolotl tank. The observation came to Teg with a sudden sharp biting of acid on his tongue. The T-probe again. Teg allowed himself to flow through a multiple simultaneous awareness. He followed the T-probe's workings and continued to explore this observation about the Gola, all the while listening for dit, dat, and dat. The three puppets were oddly silent. Yes, waiting for their T-probe to complete its task. The Gola. Duncan was an extension of cells which had been born of a woman impregnated by a man. Machine and Gola. Observation. The machine cannot share that birth experience except in a remotely vicarious way, sure to miss important personal nuances, just as it was missing other things in him right now. The T-probe was replaying smells. With each induced odor, memories revealed their presence in Teg's mind. He felt the great speed of the T-probe, but his own awareness lived outside of that headlong rushing search, able to entangle him for as long as he desired in the memories being called up here. There, that was the hot wax he had spilled on his left hand when only 14 and a student in the Bene Gesserit school. He recalled school and laboratory as though his only existence were there at this moment. The school is attached to Chapter House. By being admitted here, Teg knew he had the blood of Siona in his veins. No prescient could drag him here. He saw the lab and smelled the wax, a compound of artificial esters and the natural product of bees kept by failed sisters and their helpers. He turned his memory to a moment when he watched bees and people at their labors in the apple orchards. The workings of the Bene Gesserit social structure appeared so complicated until you saw through to the necessities: food, clothing, warmth, communication, learning, protection from enemies, a subset of the survival drive. Bene Gesserit survival took some adjustments before it could be understood. They did not procreate for the sake of humankind in general. No unmonitored racial involvement. They procreated to extend their own powers, to continue the Bene Gesserit, deeming that a sufficient service to humankind. Perhaps it was. Procreative motivation went deep, and the sisterhood was so thorough. A new smell assailed him. He recognized the wet wool of his clothing as he came into the command pod after the Battle of Ponkyard. The smell filled his nostrils and elicited the ozone of the pod's instruments and the sweat of the other occupants. Wool. The sisterhood had always thought it a bit odd of him, the way he preferred natural fabrics and shunned the synthetics turned out in captive factories. No more did he care for chair dogs. I don't like the smell of oppression in any form. Did these puppets did that and that know how oppressed they were? Mentat logic sneered at him. Were wool fabrics not also a product of captive factories? It was different. Part of him argued otherwise. Synthetics would be stored almost indefinitely. Look how long they had endured in the null entropy bins of the Harkonnen No globe. I still prefer woolens and cottons. So be it. But how did I come by such a preference? It is an Atreides prejudice. You inherited it. Teg shunted the smells aside and concentrated on total movement of the intrusive probe. He found presently that he could anticipate the thing. It was a new muscle. He allowed himself to flex it while he continued to examine the induced memories for valuable insights. I sit outside my mother's door on Lernares. Teg removed part of his awareness and watched the scene. Age 11. He's talking to a small Bene Gesserit acolyte who came as part of the escort of somebody important. The acolyte is a tiny thing in red blonde hair and a doll's face, upturned nose, green-grey eyes. The S.I. is a black-robed Reverend Mother of truly ancient appearance. She has gone behind that nearby door with Teg's mother. The acolyte, who is named Carlana, is trying her fledgling skills on the young son of the house. Before Carlana utters 20 words, Miles Teg recognizes the pattern. She is trying to pry information out of him. This was one of the first lessons in delicate dissembling taught by his mother. There were, after all, people who might question a young boy about a Reverend Mother's household, hoping thereby to gain saleable information. There is always a market for data about Reverend Mothers. His mother explained, "You judge the questioner and fit your responses according to the susceptibilities." She taught him then how to judge questions and fit the responses. None of this would have served against the full Reverend Mother, but against an acolyte, especially this one. For Carlana, he produces an appearance of coy reluctance. Carlana has an inflated view of her own attractions. He allows her to overcome his reluctance after a suitable marshalling of her forces. What she gets is a handful of lies, which, if she ever repeats them to the S.I. behind that closed door, are sure to win Carlana a severe censoring, if not something more painful. Words from that and that. "I think we have him now." Teg recognized Yar's voice, yanking him out of old memories. "Fit your responses according to the susceptibilities." Teg heard the words in his mother's voice. "Puppets. Puppet masters." The functionary speaks. "Ask the simulation where they have taken the Gola." Silence, and then a faint humming. "I'm not getting anything, Yar." Teg hears their voices with painful sensitivity. He forces his eyes to open against the opposing commands of the probe. "Look," Yar says. 3 sets of eyes stare back at Teg. How slowly they move. Dit, dat, and dot. The eyes go blink, blink. At least a minute between blinks. Yar is reaching for something on his console. His fingers will take a week to reach their destination. Teg explores the binding on his hands and arms. Ordinary rope. Taking his time, he squirms his fingers into contact with the knots. They loosen, slowly at first, and then flying apart. He moves onto the straps holding him to the sling litter. These are easier, simple slip locks. Yar's hand is not even a fourth of the way to the console. Blink, The 3 sets of eyes show faint surprise. Teg releases himself from the Medusa tangle of probe contacts. Pop, pop, pop. The grippers fly away from him. He's surprised to notice a slow start of bleeding on the back of his right hand, where it has brushed the probe contacts aside. Mentat projection. I am moving with dangerous speed. But now he is off the litter. Functionary is reaching a slow hand toward the bulge in a side pocket. Teg's hand crushes the functionary's throat. Functionary will never again touch that little lasgun he always carries. Yar's outstretched hand is still not a third of the way to the probe console. There's definite surprise in his eyes, though. Teg doubts that the man even sees the hand, which breaks his neck. Matter is moving a bit faster. Her left foot is coming toward where Teg had been just a flick of an instant previously. Still too slow. Matter's head is thrown back, the throat exposed for Teg's down-chopping hands. How slowly they fall to the floor. Teg became aware of perspiration pouring from him, but he could not spare time to worry about this. I knew every move they would make before they made it. What has happened to me? Mentat projection. The probe agony has lifted me into a new level of ability. Intense hunger pangs made him aware of the energy drain. He pushed the sensation aside, feeling himself return to a normal time beat. 3 dull sounds, bodies falling to the floor. Teg examined the probe console. Definitely not fiction. Similar controls, though. He shorted out the data storage system, erasing it. Room lights? Controls behind the door from the outside. He distinguished the lights, took 3 deep breaths. A whirling blur of motion erupted into the night. The ones who had brought him here, clad in their bulky clothing against the winter chill, barely had time to turn toward the odd sound before the whirling blur struck them down. Teg returned to normal time beat more quickly. Starlight showed him a trail leading down slope through thick brush. He slipped and slid on the snow-churned mud for a space, and then found the way to balance himself, anticipating the terrain. Each step went where he knew it must go. He found himself presently in an open space which looked out across a valley. The lights of a city and a great black rectangle of building near the center. He knew this place. Isai. The puppet masters were there. And I am free. This is it. That was... I hope you had a good time. I hope I don't read too slowly or make too funny voices. This was a scene that really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that when I read it for the first time. Here you can see that really it echoes Leto's interrogation scene with Baron Harkonnen, but it pushes it on the opposite side, sort of like where honor and ascendancy. He's transcending himself, yeah, through agony. Once again, Frank Herbert shows us that through agony. That pain and consciousness are weirdly related, right? And that thresholds of consciousness are accessed, can be accessed through suffering. There is something about that, the way we trigger cells, and the way life reacts to sensation. Reminds me now of the Buddhist saying. They say something like that there is that pleasure and suffering are on one ladder. There are only degrees of some form of like a conscious response of life to life, or So here, I thought, because I want to have psychedelics. I want to have drugs in the game. I want to have near-death experiences and all of that, and past-death experiences. I want the spirit world to be a thing. I want genes and species memory, collective memory to have a say. I love the way Frank Herbert describes psychological spaces. Yeah, when you have like the way he uses flashbacks, but not only that, the way he pinpoint describes with such an accuracy. You can see that the man knew silicium, or what's the name, magic mushrooms. You can see that he knew what he was talking about. There is always a way the language he uses is always so on point when describing such feeble, like such unstable, fragile things, such these things of the mind, of transcendence, and here he puts that in a story, and it's amazing. And by the way, character progression in Mon RPG is called Ascension. And there's a reason for that, you'll know on time. So that was another of Mon RPG inspiration read-along video. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments what would you like me to read to you. I have maybe I put up a poll on in the Discord. Join the Discord. And let us know what books, what literature inspires you most from the list of titles. I'll put up there. There's a lot of cool stuff on that list. In the meantime, I hope that you yourselves are having the best of time. That everything you do it with a passion, with respect for yourself and others, and that it feeds life for yourself and everyone around. They just came back from their trip around the moon. The classic thing they said is that they see us from there as one. It's one little piece of life in the middle of the unknown. And I'd like to finish, I think, this video with a Golog saying that all is Mon. Right, like and subscribe. See you next time. Have fun, y'all. Bye-bye.